right, we just got off the innovation stage where Mr. Leo Jacobs, in all his glory, had spoken about distress in the office space. So, what do you think? Is there distress in the office space?
So look, there is, of course, distress in the office space, but the way, remember, it was not distress in the office space, it was innovating office in distress. And we were talking about how you have to do that through the paperwork, not just through the mochachinos and the cappuccinos and the yogas and then making it smell nice, but also understanding how to talk to your lender. That was what we were discussing.
All right, so let's talk about that for a second,
Sure.
because most people, they get into distress, what happens? And I know that you're the rabbi of this. Now, Leo is one of the #1 workout and bankruptcy counsel for the debtor side in the country. And if I would have known that, maybe my problems wouldn't have been there, but we're through that, we're past that, okay? So now, tell us, these guys are coming to you, they're always winning, they're developers. They don't ever look at that documentation, they never assume that they're gonna have to worry, right?
That's right.
So when you say look at the paperwork now and it's a strategy, what do you mean? And when do they come to you to find out what the story is? When should they be communicating?
What? They actually don't come to me. It's their friends that come to me, and they're saying, listen, I think this guy got a problem or this guy got a problem, because they don't want to talk about their woes. They don't want to talk about their high blood pressure, right, as a doctor would say. They don't want to talk about their problems, really for 3 reasons. They either don't want to face it, they don't know how to face it, and when they do face it, they don't know how to deal with it. Those are 3 problems.
All right, so let's rip off and let's talk about the lens of reality. So forget about the emotional part of it, right? Forget about the emotion, because you know what? You have a responsibility to protect them, right?
Right.
So now they're looking at the office, they're like, oh my God, and what we're discussing is now the lender is starting to give them pressure.
That's right.
So what's the strategy you would give them right from day one, the second that the lender's like, yo, I think we got a problem?
The power of no. The power of no is so strong, both in our daily activities with our personal connections, in our daily activities with our partners, and also in our daily activities with your lenders. If you are a multi-billionaire having billion-dollar portfolio, half of it, 50% of it, is being taken care of by a modification group, and the other half, you got to go pound for pound and fight. The power of no. And the way you do that is you do it through competent counsel. Whether it be hiring us or other professionals, when you say no, that's where negotiation begins.
So you know what's really interesting, and I think that people need to speak to earlier, is they don't know, no pun intended, that they actually need to be somewhat aggressive back with what the situation is. Not because they are an aggressive person, but it's that the other side needs to know that you may be sharp and you may have something on your side
That's
in
right.
order to create space to be able to come to a settlement. Now, I didn't know that. I know you, and you taught me that. But my point is, I think that the guys out there, girls, whatever it is, needing to refinance, cash in, refi, looking at the stress, need to actually have counsel like yourself, telling them, how do you strategize to move this forward? Because a lot of it is, can you negotiate sort of at the end of like a gun?
That's right. And I'd like to also tell you guys the power of showing your capability of being aggressive and dangerous. That's what we were talking about on the innovation stage. It's not that we're going to go and beat you up, is that we have the capability of doing that. We have the sharp tools in our shed as well, my dear lenders. Do us a favor, or do yourselves a favor, and have a conversation. Look at it from the lens of lender and borrower are not the problem. The problem is the problem. And when you look at the problem that way, we begin to look at it together from the eyes of a solution-based oriented approach, not a can we fight to the death and see whether there's a loser and a winner.
And not, I'm going after the guarantee. Let's look at the asset.
So let's talk about the guarantee for a second,
Let's talk about it.
Legacies are going to rise and they're going to fall, my friend.
What are we, the Roman Empire?
That is true. That is true. We have big names in the industry which will remain unmentioned, okay? Some of them being my clients. Some of them don't know that they are going to be our clients.
Not yet.
But they have to be very careful about their daughters, their cousins, their brothers, their mothers, because they're leaving a legacy behind of true hardship and returning to your previous lawyers, which is not the Winston Churchills of the world, but the Chamberlains of the world that are not paying attention to the fine print.
Well, let's go back to that, because I think that that's like a really important point. The same guys that structured your deal, your lawyers that were your friends, that have always been your counsel.
30 years.
It's not the same thing as your wartime consigliere.
That's
you need
right.
different players, you need different people looking at it. that don't have that relationship, that are coming in raw in order to protect you.
Mindset is important.
So let's give the audience one simple thing. What's one thing they should never do if the lender gives them a document to sign that we're going to discuss?
It's a pre-negotiation letter. Anything that the lender is putting in front of you either doesn't exist in the initial documents that they've given you. That's the reason they're giving it to you in the first place. So one thing, what I would never do is I would never sign something that is put in front of me, because chances are you never signed it, you never agreed to it in the first place, and that's why you have it in front of you.
$10,000, people. Look at that, just on the innovation stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you.